Unsung Murder Ballads discusses topics of a disturbing nature.
And we're not going to hold back on the graphic details and disturbing content.
So we do not recommend our podcast for children under the age of 13.
And while we respect the victims and their families involved in these tragic cases,
we're also going to be critical of mistakes that are made during the investigations.
And we're going to use dark humor to express ourselves now and then.
So with that said, this podcast may not be for everyone.
And that's okay. We're glad you're here checking us out.
And if you've made it this far, welcome to the Unsung Murder Ballads family. And follow us on Instagram at Unsung Murder Ballads if you want to talk to us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Unsung Murder Ballads. This is episode 108. I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
Alrighty, so after Jameson here started choking right before we started, hopefully he doesn't die on us.
Almost literally became Jameson Dead.
Yeah. Again, we're not saying we're looking for ratings, but if you do die on the recording, maybe that'll help boost the podcast.
Oh, I know what I'm good for then.
Yes,
wow.
Yes, cannon fodder. All right, so tonight we have because this is going to air on Christmas, we have a Christmas episode. So,
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Do it.
Yes, Merry Christmas to those who celebrate or any other holiday that you do. I'm personally one of the people that don't celebrate anything, not even the whole Festivus for the rest of us thing. I just chill and take it as a day. So,
wow.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just.
I'm not saying there is. I don't know many people that do that.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, I have dinner with family members, and then when their kids were younger, we had a group get together because their kids were home. So we would go there, and it turned into a board game night tradition. And
nice.
As the kids got older, initially we all did something together as a larger group, but now everyone sort of moved around. They're no longer in the same city, so we don't get together as often that way. And the holiday tradition has sort of gone to the wayside, so now I'm just chilling, which is cool.
Very nice.
Let's begin. The funny part about this is the teaser is actually the first event of this entire case, so this is just going to be told in chronological order.
Oh, wow.
All right,
okay.
then.
The night was December 23rd, 1992. It was clear and it was bitterly cold in the 20s when Marvellous Keene, 19, and his 16-year-old girlfriend, Laura Taylor, left a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marvellous is an interesting name, I have to say.
It's a really cool name.
Especially for a guy.
Yeah.
So Keene and Taylor had been inseparable for the 2 weeks prior to them leaving this hotel, ever since they had gotten drunk and spent their first night together. Taylor, who had been expelled from Meadowdale High School 4 months previously, hadn't seen her parents in nearly 3 weeks.
Uh-oh.
Oh, damn.
Keene was once a choir boy and a regular churchgoer, and he had just returned to Dayton, Ohio, after 18 months with his father in Los Angeles. His mother had hoped the stay in Ohio would help him overcome his rage at the murder of his brother, who had been fatally shot during a foiled robbery attempt the previous year.
Oh, that's awful.
Now, Laura...
And also, no, just going to stay with someone else is not going to change that.
No, you have to work through that. But maybe getting him out of Los Angeles, where probably the killers were, and maybe the gang violence related to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it might have been... I can see the thought process.
Yeah.
So Laura Taylor was about 5 feet tall and had long, straightened hair and a sweet, almost childlike face. Keene...
weird that he's dating someone younger and who looks particularly childlike.
Yes. And he's a big black dude. He's a big, flashy guy. He had that 90s box haircut that was predominant.
Oh, that one was so cool.
Yeah. And he had a penchant for wearing lots of jewelry. So very 80s look, if you can imagine it.
Mm-hmm.
80s, 90s, I should say.
So Mr. T, kind of.
No, less a little bit of Mr. T, but I'm thinking more of like
well, Mr. T made that haircut iconic, or probably someone did make.
No, yeah, he didn't. I'm not talking the mohawk. I'm talking the one that almost looks like, I hate to say it this way, like a pencil eraser, where it comes straight off it's a box shape that comes straight off the top of your head.
Yeah,
I knew that. I was referring more to like the jewelry and the...
Right, but when you said Mr. T, I immediately went to the mohawk, and I think Joyous did too. So
Yeah.
So Keene could be surprisingly polite in addressing those in authority, saying yes, sir, and no, sir, and things like that. So even though he's got this rage, he's still a pretty polite guy.
Got his
So he
wits
knows
about him.
he knows what to say.
He knows how to behave, correct. So 2 days before Christmas, they had used up their money for that night in a hotel in downtown Dayton. And without a car, they walked over a mile up to 159 Yuma Place, which was an apartment in a place called the Edgewood Court, which was public housing, where they knew an older man named Bill who ran a crack cocaine den there.
Yikes. That's not a good place to be.
So Bill's place was where a loosely connected gang that liked to call themselves the Downtown Posse would hang out and crash and do drugs after a night of drinking and panhandling and stuff like that.
Great combination.
So the two were there, and they were bored and looking for something exciting to do. And they teamed up with a woman named Heather Mathews, who was 20 years old, who had just been released from prison the previous October and was beginning to reacquaint herself with crack cocaine. As you do, I guess. So they were all estranged from their families, and they were just looking for trouble.
Well, I would hope they were estranged from their families. I mean, when you're diving that deep into shit like that.
I mean, some people, unfortunately, their whole families do things like this and commit crimes together and do drugs together. So,
True.
And who knows what their family life was actually like, you know? But Taylor was quoted having said, "Let's get some drama in our lives," before they all went out. Now, Taylor came up with an idea. She knew a man on Prescott Avenue who had a good job at General Motors. He drove a nice car and always had money, especially when he was paying her for sexual favors. She knew that he would let them in his house, and they could rob him.
Damn.
So her boyfriend, Marvellous Keene, said, "Let's do it." So he packed up his two cheap 25 caliber automatic handguns. One was nickel plated and the other one was black. Now, Taylor and Heather Mathews, they had caught this guy Joseph Wilkerson's eyes before, and they knew how they were going to play this. So from Bill's apartment, they called Joseph and said, "Hey, how about you get together with the three of us, me, Marvellous here, and the other girl, and let's have an orgy." So he agreed. So together in the biting cold, these three walk 3 miles to Joseph's house. After having some drinks, Taylor led Joseph into the bedroom. And after waiting a little bit, Keene and Mathews followed them into that room. Joseph began taking off his clothes, and Taylor and Mathews pretended to do the same. While
How do you pretend to take off your clothes?
Well, they were like slowly taking their clothes off.
Oh, okay.
Right? So Keene began to remove his pants, but instead pulled out his gun. He ordered Joseph onto the bed and commanded Taylor and Mathews to tie his hands to the bed. While Keene watched over Joseph, Taylor and Mathews went through the house looking for things to steal. They took a microwave oven, a TV. Keep in mind, they're drug addicts, right? They took a microwave oven, a TV, a cordless phone, a curling iron, a blow dryer.
These are things that are worthless.
And they loaded it into Joseph's Buick.
Oh, so they're stealing his car too?
They're taking his car too.
Yikes. Bad plan.
So Joseph told Keene, and I really don't know why you'd volunteer this information, but Joseph told Keene that he had a .32 caliber Derringer in his garage.
What? Why would you say that? No.
No idea. I mean, the guy's already got one gun, but I don't know why you'd offer him your gun. Then he's going to go out and commit crimes with your gun.
Right.
But so Keene went and looked for it, found it, and he brought it back into the bedroom, where he subsequently shot Joseph in the chest with his own gun.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I saw that one coming.
So Taylor and
Not a great way to do robberies.
No, not at all. That escalated quickly. Taylor and Mathews heard the shot, and they returned to the bedroom and saw Keene holding Joseph's weapon. Joseph's feet were shaking, so Keene handed Joseph's derringer to Laura Taylor, and told her to shoot him.
What the fuck?
But the gun wouldn't fire again, so Keene had to give Taylor his own gun, and Taylor shot Joseph in the head. At which point he stopped shaking.
She's just perfectly willing to join in on this.
Then all three got into Joseph's Buick, and they drove away. Now Keene warned them, the two girls, not to tell two of the other members of their gang anything about what happened. Their names are Wendy Cottrell and Marvin Washington. He's made it very clear, do not tell these two what we've done. So the next day, on Christmas Eve morning, Mathews' boyfriend, 17-year-old DeMarcus Smith, joined the other three in their festivities, their killing spree, however you want to look at it.
Oh, no.
DeMarcus Smith was wanted by police for parole violations, so he has zero problems committing crimes. After killing Joseph Wilkerson, they returned to the house. They were partying and using it as their base of operations.
Idiots.
And would do so for their entire, spree.
Oh.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
At about 7 a.m., Keene, Taylor, and Mathews drove Joseph's red Buick back to Bill's crack house. They unloaded the trunk there, and then for some reason slept there until noontime.
Unloaded their fucking
Their
microwave
loot.
and their blow dryer?
Exactly, and their curling iron, yeah, exactly. They then got up and went downtown, and after an afternoon of hanging out at Courthouse Square and the arcade, they just did their thing. But later that evening, Laura Taylor, wanted to rob a John, as in a customer.
Right, so there's a repeat. There's an MO.
Right. So Keene and Smith drove her to Main Street, where she lured one over, and she got into his car. Keene and Smith, so keep in mind, Marvellous Keene is the 19-year-old boyfriend, and DeMarcus Smith is the the boyfriend of Mathews. Because I'm using their last names, I know the genders make it a little confusing. So.
Yeah, because they have last names, first name, last names.
Yeah, exactly. It's Laura Taylor and Heather Mathews. Yeah, so, and I just I don't like using the perpetrator's first names. So.
Right.
Okay, so Keene and Smith followed in the Buick that they had stolen from Joseph. When the John stopped at Neal Avenue, Smith got out of the car and shot out John's back window with Taylor still in the car.
Oh my God.
So right? So the John
extremely careless.
The John freaks out and hightails it down the road, and he goes over a bridge into downtown and into the parking lot for the Dayton Police Headquarters on 3rd Street. Keene and Smith had initially followed, but then once they realized where he's going, they stopped chasing him.
Good move.
So the two drove around for a while until Smith decided it would be a good idea to stop and look for Taylor. Keene, her boyfriend, just let him out on Main Street and kept driving.
What is he, a dog?
No, you just let the guy. So you get the one guy who wants to look for the girl, but the boyfriend doesn't give a shit and drops the other guy off to go look for the girl.
Wow.
Right? He doesn't even look for his own girlfriend, who he let get in a car with a dude that's going to pay her for sex. And then the other guy shoots at her. Crazy.
Right. Well, this guy's deeply fucked up, and we've already established that.
Right. So it should be noted that Smith is carrying one of Keene's guns at this point. But eventually, Keene, Taylor, and Smith all return to Bill's place, the crack house.
They love Bill's place.
Apparently, that's the place to be here, I guess. So, again, Keene and Smith are both carrying guns at this point. Oh, so these three decided to go out for a walk. And Keene would later confess to police that while they were walking, they saw a woman at a payphone. 18-year-old Danita Julette had a 2-year-old daughter waiting at home for her when she was confronted by these three idiots. They pulled out a gun and threatened to shoot her, demanding that she hand over all her valuables, including her Fila shoes that she was wearing.
And it's freezing cold.
Yeah, it's December.
again, used shoes. How much? You're not gonna get money for that.
I'm telling you, these people are nuts.
Yeah, they're just having fun, like fucking people up.
So although Danita did everything she was asked, the only words she said to them were, "Don't shoot me."
Oh.
But this heartless group of fuckers shot her 5 times with no remorse.
Oh my God.
So later that night, back at Bill's apartment, the party was in full party mode. Now, Bill wasn't there, but the rest of this gang were, including the 2 members of the party that Marvellous Keene had warned them not to talk about the murders with. Wendy Cottrell, who was only 16, and her 18-year-old boyfriend, Marvin Washington. Now, Heather Mathews was there too, and she was upset over a fight she had just had with her former boyfriend, 28-year-old Jeffrey Wright, who had actually just left this party before the other 3 had come in. So they come in, and immediately Laura Taylor's holding up Danita's bag and clothing that they took off of her and started exclaiming, "We shot her, we shot her."
Okay.
That's disgusting.
Right?
What the fuck?
So she and DeMarcus Smith went through her bag and showed everybody all the clothing they had taken and the money they found in Danita's bag, which totaled 50 cents.
Are you shitting me?
Oh my God. It's senseless.
DeMarcus Smith bragged, saying, "Yeah, we laid her out." And then he put on her Fila gym shoes and realized that they fit, so he kept them on.
Oh my God.
Oh.
So Smith still had the black .25 caliber automatic that Marvellous Keene had given him, and he enjoyed flashing it around and showing everybody that he was carrying this thing.
Sure he fucking did.
And Taylor had the .32 caliber Derringer that they had stolen from Joseph's garage. So at about a half an hour before midnight, Jeffrey Wright, Heather Mathews' ex-boyfriend, returned to the apartment looking for her. He grabbed her by the hair and dragged her into a bedroom.
Oh God, no.
And as you can imagine, this isn't going to go over well.
No.
So DeMarcus Smith follows them in and a whole fight ensues. And Smith ends up chasing Jeffrey out of the apartment, aiming a gun at him. And once they're outside, he starts shooting at him as this kid's trying to run across the front yard.
Oh my God.
Jeffrey is hit and falls to the ground and tries to play dead. But Smith walks up to him and continues pulling the trigger until the gun is empty.
Oh.
Amazingly, after being shot 4 times in the legs, Jeffrey got up and ran to a neighbor's house.
What?
Whoa.
Holy crap.
And that neighbor brought him to the 5th District Police Station on Salem Avenue. He would get treatment and he would survive.
Wow.
Yeah. But this incident got Laura Taylor thinking. She had an ex-boyfriend that she didn't really like named Richmond Maddox. And Richmond, he has money and a car.
Oh,
God.
Come on. Really?
They just think there's never going to be any consequences.
And so far there isn't.
Maybe he has a really good hair blower.
So on Christmas Day, because it's past midnight at this point, Taylor tricks Richmond into leaving his parents' house to go for a ride in his car with her. Unknown to Richmond, the others, Keene, Smith, and Mathews, were following them.
Ugh.
But as they drove, it became apparent to Richmond that there was a car behind them that was kind of trailing them. So he was being suspicious and cautious. He steps on the accelerator and starts moving much faster. But as he does, Taylor pulls out the Derringer, puts it against his right temple, and pulls the trigger.
What?
Whoa.
She then jumps out of the moving car before it crashes into a tree on Benton Avenue.
Okay, I do have to ask, is she actively on crack at this time?
They must be high on God knows what at this point.
They have to be. Holy crap.
Because that's some fucked up shit.
For real?
Because it's one thing to maybe do it when the car is at a full stop, right?
Yup. Why did you shoot the person driving the car that you're in?
As he's accelerating.
Insane. Actually insane.
So Taylor survives the crash and was able to get away, but unfortunately Richmond did not. 19-year-old Richmond Maddox would be discovered dead in his car by police the next day, or later that day.
Damn.
When the police went and spoke to Richmond's family, they discovered the connection between him and Laura Taylor. And they also learned that Taylor's family thought she had disappeared because they haven't heard from her in weeks.
Damn.
So the teens talked about more ways to get quick cash. Heather Mathews, Laura Taylor, Marvellous Keene, and DeMarcus Smith decided to drive to a bank on Salem Avenue and rob someone that was using the ATM machine.
Oh my God.
So after a long wait, a driver finally pulls up to the ATM. But suspicious of the other car in this lonely parking lot, that other car drove away without taking any money out. Yeah,
yep.
Which makes sense.
That was a really good choice.
Yeah, right?
That's just like one of those little tiny moments that'll save your life.
Exactly. So the gang at this point decides they're going to move on. That ATM, that's just not going to work. So they pull into a BP station, which is like a gas station, and they spotted a young woman pumping air into her tires. Keene and Smith jump out of the car, and they pull out their weapons, and Smith yells out, "Shoot her!"
Oh my God.
But the woman takes off running before shots are even fired. So Keene and Smith steal her car.
I'm glad she got away okay, because you can replace a car, you can't replace a life.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
And
that's an acceptable loss.
Right. And
if life is a whole other thing.
Exactly. And if DeMarcus Smith hadn't yelled out "shoot her," which they were probably going to do anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. So she got lucky that this kid's a fucking idiot.
Sometimes we can get lucky by a fumble.
Exactly. Exactly. Unfortunately for them, they still had no cash. So Keene and Smith decide that they needed to go and rob a store. Taylor chose the target. It was a little place on West 5th Street called the Short Stop Mini Market, where only 2 people worked. It was isolated, and it would be easy.
And there's probably almost no money in that register. So, excellent plan.
So Taylor walked in first to case the joint. The plan was that if she didn't walk out after just a few minutes, it meant the coast was clear. Behind the counter of the store was a woman named Sarah Abraham. She was 38 years old and the mother of 3, and was working in her family business that holiday weekend. Once Taylor was inside, Smith and Keene entered. Keene immediately shot Taylor in the head twice. She wouldn't die until 5 days later in the hospital.
Holy hell.
A customer in the store named Jones Pettis was shot in the hand and the stomach, but he survived. The second person working in that place was a man named Edward Thompson, and he escaped injury by slumping over the counter and pretending to be hit and dead.
Smart.
Their bountiful take on this senseless violence? A whopping $44.
Oh, wow.
It's like, I just have to say, like, this case is like almost not even computing for me because it's so senseless.
It's completely stupid. So
It
far,
like doesn't even make sense. Like if you were telling me this was the plot of a movie, I'd be like, this movie's stupid and makes no sense. Like I don't get it.
Yeah, and 4 people have died, and they have gotten, not counting what they might get if they sold the stupid trinkets they're stealing, they've gotten away with less than $100.
Yes.
It's completely stupid.
It's completely stupid. I just don't understand how.
It's because
the motivations don't make sense.
Well, it's because they're high and they're looking for a good time.
Yeah, I guess.
It's
really hard for me to comprehend.
Agreed. And that's why this case is so crazy.
Yeah.
And of course, it's happening at Christmas time. No one's expecting this shit at all.
No.
So at this point, the group decide that their fellow gang members, Wendy Cottrell and Marvin Washington, were witnesses who could implicate them. Because
oh God, now it's gonna be an internal. Oh my God.
Yep, because they couldn't keep their mouth shut when they came back after killing Danita. now these other two people who were at that party, yep, they got to go.
Right, they didn't even do anything wrong.
Correct. DeMarcus Smith was convinced that Marvin told the police that he had shot Jeffrey Wright, Heather's ex-boyfriend, despite the fact that he literally watched the guy get shot and run to a neighbor's place. So after they murdered Sarah Abraham at the store, they went and drove and picked up Wendy and Marvin, and they all went out and purchased some beer and wine. They drove around until Marvellous Keene said that he needed to stop and take a piss, at which point they parked on a gravel road where Marvin and Wendy were pulled from the car and moved behind a large pile of dirt. It was there that the two would be executed.
Oh my God.
Wendy was pregnant with Marvin's child.
Oh,
shit.
Yeah. So that's 3 more to their list. At first,
it's just so senseless. Was there even indication these people were going to say anything? It's crazy.
No, absolutely not. They just didn't trust them, and because the other idiots opened their mouths, these two had to die.
Right, and are they not thinking about how they're all each other's witnesses?
Right.
It almost would only make sense if this ends with them killing each other.
And if it went on longer, it might have ended that way.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, I guess
I was
fair.
waiting for it, honestly.
Now, the Dayton police, the homicide detectives, initially had no idea that all these crimes were connected. And why would they? Right?
Right. They're senseless.
Yeah. And at best, you have similar, bullets. That's it. That's all they know.
Right.
So,
because there's a couple different guns going on, so it's hard to even connect.
Correct. And it's stranger on stranger violence, which is incredibly difficult to solve, especially if there's no motive.
Right, and there's literally no motive.
Right. So the group at this point were swapping license plates and stealing cars, so they're literally changing shit up. Right? So that's another reason.
They are being kind of untraceable.
Right. But this is when they went to a Salem Avenue gas station. There, a woman almost became their 7th victim in this killing spree. They robbed her at gunpoint, but she ran and survived. So they took her vehicle, swapping the license plates, and they drove on. But of course, because that woman survived, she calls them, and now they have their current vehicle as well as a description. So later on December 26th, Dayton Police Sergeant John Huber spotted the stolen car on Cumler Avenue. At this time, he did not know that he was stopping the spree killers. He followed them.
He just thought he was stopping someone?
Someone who stole a car. He has no idea that these are the people leaving bodies all over the city.
Oh my God.
So he followed them and stopped the car, noting that there were 4 people inside. But when the car stopped, one of the 4 suspects got out and ran. Typically when you do that, cops aren't so happy about that.
No, you really are supposed to stay the fuck still or they're going to shoot you.
Right. So he gets out of his car and he aims his gun standing behind the door of his car.
Yep.
Now, again, unknown to him, this was DeMarcus Smith fleeing and running back to a house on Cumler Avenue. But Huber remained focused on the vehicle and the other 3 suspects. At this point, Taylor tells Keene to kill the cop.
Holy shit.
Oh, God.
But he refused to do it for some reason.
Interesting. Maybe they believe in a sort of consequence now?
Maybe.
Insane.
Yeah, exactly. Someone can actually shoot back at them now, right? So he kept them there until an unmarked police van pulled up, as well as 3 plainclothes police officers with riot shotguns.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
And they kept them there until 3 more backup units came up.
All right, well, they're going to get them now.
Every officer had their gun pointed at the car and were shouting, "Get out of the car." All 3, amazingly, cooperated and got out with their hands up.
What? Oh, come on!
I
was hoping for a
shootout. Yeah, I know. That was a moment for me too. I was like, oh, they're gonna die in a hail of bullets, but no, that's not how this goes down. Soon after they were arrested, a woman came out and told a detective, Terry Pearson, that the man who fled from the car had run into a house on Cumler Avenue. So Pearson,
damn, snitching,
right? So Pearson and a detective named Frank Nankivel arrived at the Cumler Ave address and asked the owner, Sandra Pinson, if they could come in and look around. She said okay. They asked if anyone else was home, and she said no. But then detectives heard someone coming down the stairs.
Well.
Yeah, and a young black male came down wearing a pair of green slacks, no shirt, and no shoes. So they asked who he was, and he said his name was Dion and that he lived there. Sandra Pinson stood there and said nothing. So the cop said to her, "Can we check the rest of the house?" And she said that they could. They go upstairs and they find her boyfriend, Earl Strickland, just sitting there. And Strickland told them that the man in the green pants was not her son Dion, and that he was the person that they were here looking for. So the two cops arrest him, and this is when they find out that it's DeMarcus Smith. And before they took him to the headquarters, the couple, Pinson, gives detectives clothing that he had stashed in a bedroom closet. Among those clothing were Danita's Fila gym shoes.
Oh, God.
Fucking losers, man. So she told the detectives that this group of people knew her son and that they had stayed at her house, and that both her and her boyfriend had been too afraid to even come downstairs because they knew all these kids had guns.
Oh, God.
Crazy. Pearson then goes out and runs the registration on their stolen car, or one of the stolen cars that they had, because they're leaving them all around the city. They're just abandoning them. And they realize that one of them belongs to Joseph Wilkerson of the 3300 block of Prescott Avenue. So police go to Joseph's home at about 3 p.m., and they found no forced signs of entry, but the door was unlocked and no one was answering. They go inside and there's furniture overturned and items scattered everywhere, and a TV appears to be missing because of the dusty, empty stand. And, you know, they're noticing all that shit.
All the telltale signs of a robbery.
Yeah, you know, missing microwaves, exactly.
Yeah, like this living room is suspiciously missing a television.
Right? So in the back bedroom, they found Joseph's body as it lay on the floor in the middle of the room, with his arms spread eagle style, with his wrist tied to the bedpost with electrical cord.
What a horrifying thing to walk in and see.
Yeah.
Awful.
It was clear he had been shot near his right eye and in his upper left chest.
Oh.
So with the 4 suspects now in custody downtown, they were interrogated in separate rooms. None of them showed any remorse, but at least 3 of them, there was an impression that they realized there would be consequences for their action. But Laura Taylor couldn't have cared less. She was stone cold.
Wow.
Scared.
So interestingly, though, she got a visit from a local minister who was concerned that her, at only 16 years old, being accused of such terrible crimes, needed a man of God to speak to.
You know, I'm glad at least someone is trying.
So it was during that visit that Taylor told him that they had killed Wendy Cottrell and Marvin Washington, and gave him directions to their bodies.
To this random priest?
Yeah, this priest. Crazy.
Weird.
She wouldn't talk to cops, but she talks to a priest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Marvellous Keene waived a jury trial. He was tried by a 3-judge panel who found him guilty on all counts, and he was sentenced to death. The other 3...
Damn, the death penalty.
Yeah, that's Ohio in the 90s. Yeah, the death penalty.
Woof.
Now, the other 3 got life in prison sentences with the possibility of parole.
Wow, parole was on the table?
Are you ready for when these monsters were eligible for parole, at least initially?
Oh my God. No.
5 years after.
Keep in mind, this is 1992. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Laura Taylor, at least initially, was eligible for parole in 2098.
Oh.
Holy hell.
Okay. Slay. Okay.
DeMarcus Smith would be eligible for parole in 2123.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yep. Okay.
Wow.
Cool.
And Heather Mathews is eligible for parole in 2132.
Oh, okay. Only 100 years from now.
That's
Yeah,
incredible.
that was awesome. You guys were like, you fucker. You're going to
That-
tell me 5 years.
That's great. Well, that's just so interesting. I wonder, like, that just makes me wonder what the difference is between something that gets you a death sentence and a life sentence in
Well,
prison.
I think Marvellous Keene was probably, he's obviously the ringleader. He's the gang leader. So I think
he
he
owned the
took,
guns.
yeah, I think he took the brunt of it.
Yeah.
And especially because DeMarcus Smith is only 17 and Laura Taylor is only 16. So there's
Right, they're minors, and like
Right.
I can see a jury seeing that differently.
right. And Heather Mathews was only 20, and to my knowledge, she didn't kill anybody.
Right.
So that's probably why.
That
Yeah,
makes
but
sense.
with the severity of that, I would have thought that they would have all been tried as adults.
And they were, because they're not getting out of prison until the next century.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Could you
True.
imagine if they made it that long? They would be the frailest of frail. So during a prison interview in 2000, Heather Mathews explained why she went in on this crime spree. She said, quote, "I wanted to be like them. I wanted to do what they were doing."
Interesting.
and that cost you everything.
Everything. That sucks.
Yeah. But also it's stupid as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, they did all that for what?
Right. Choose your idols more carefully.
So Detective Burke said that once the killing started, he believed they were all willing participants. He said, quote, "They enjoyed it. They lived it. It made them feel like somebody." Unquote.
Yep.
Yeah.
That sounds true.
So after 17 years of appeals, Marvellous Keene was executed in 2009. His final meal was an enormous feast of steak, a pound of prawns with cocktail sauce, fries and onion rings, bread and butter, 2 plums, a mango, a pound of grapes, German chocolate cake, 2 bottles of Pepsi, and 2 bottles of cream soda.
I wonder how
Holy
much he
crap.
actually was able to eat.
Right? And I'm sorry, I didn't realize that your last meal had an endless list.
Right.
Right.
I didn't know that you could just like literally
Yeah, I'd be like,
carte blanche.
yeah,
get whatever you
exactly.
want.
I'd order the most insane shit just to see if they could get it to me. You know? Like,
Right? I mean, this is probably this guy in the course of this guy's life, the best he can come up with.
yeah, but a pound of prawns, like what?
Why do you want that?
I'd be like, I mean, I wouldn't eat them, but at that point, I'm like, I want a pound of escargot. Just fuck it. Let's see if they can get it to me.
Literally.
So, never offering a real explanation for the killing spree and leaving the families of the victims with no answers for taking their loved ones away, Marvellous Keene's final words were, "I have no words." What a dick.
How anticlimactic.
Well,
Right?
like,
Literally, I have no words.
oh, I have no words.
What an ass, you know?
Just like it feels like this is a human being devoid of anything.
Yeah. He clearly he was. I can't
Something
imagine.
so deeply wrong that I've never even heard of it before.
Yeah, exactly. So in 2021, due to new laws that affected life sentences for crimes committed by minors, Laura Taylor became eligible for parole.
What?
Yep. Her initial parole was clearly denied as she remains incarcerated at the Ohio Reformatory for Women. But her next parole eligibility date comes up in 2026.
Oh, okay.
So something else we'll have to keep an eye open for so that we can start a our letter writing campaign.
Absolutely. Definitely something to keep in mind because no.
Yeah, fuck that. Of all of them, Laura Taylor, fuck
Yeah.
that. No. So Danita's sister, Rhonda, admits that even after all these years, the holidays are still very difficult for her.
Oh, I'm sure they
Of
always
course,
will be.
They always will be.
She said, quote, "I grieve for my family, but I continue to grieve for the other victims' families and also the people who are incarcerated. Anybody's life can either go to the left or to the right," unquote. So she even understands that some of these kids were just kids who were caught up and just made a whole
Right.
series of shit decisions.
That's a really big-hearted person to who can look at it like that, because it is. I mean, it's a tragedy to have anyone really end up incarcerated. Like it is a tragedy to look at our country and to see how many people are incarcerated. And it's a tragedy that these young people's lives never had a chance to be better than this, and they never got a chance to be different.
Right. But unfortunately, they were the ones that made the decisions they did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Accountability has to exist.
So she said the murder of her sister had a huge impact on her life. The crime led to a breakup of her engagement and the loss of both a child and her mother.
Oh my God.
6 years after Danita's death, her mother passed away at 51 years old because of grief.
God.
Yeah, because of grief.
Oh.
Rhonda said that her mother absolutely died of a broken heart. Rhonda is now an advocate for victims' rights and was working on her master's degree at the last thing I could find.
Good for her.
She says that she gets through the holidays by serving her church and feeding the homeless. And that is the case of the Dayton Christmas killing spree.
Holy shit.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah,
God.
honestly, that was crazy.
Yeah. Like I look back on my teenage years and my friends and I did some stupid things. And sometimes it snowballed into the next stupid thing. But never, ever to this degree. You know, like it did sometimes come to violence, but we never would have even come close to killing somebody.
No, because
we're moral people. We grew up
exactly.
we grew up to
like
be
that would
good
matter
adults.
to you.
Right. And so it just blows my mind that they could just kill a guy and then spend days in his house, like, you know what I mean, using it as a sort of party place in between there and the crack den. And they did all that with his body laying in the bedroom. Like,
Yeah, doesn't that bother? I mean, all of this should bother them, but wouldn't that be set it over?
you know, if people like them were to do something like that today, they'd probably take selfies with that body.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I hate that you're right.
I know. It's fucking crazy. Because think about the case you did of the kid in Florida who killed his parents and then threw a party with them in the bedroom.
Yeah, true.
Ugh.
You know,
Yeah.
he was telling people. It's fucking nuts. And unfortunately for the people in this story, the people they told were killed for knowing.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have known if you hadn't opened your mouth.
Right. It's so much senseless death that like no one even made a mistake. No one even did anything wrong. They just got murdered senselessly.
Exactly.
They could never have predicted it. They were doing perfectly normal things. They weren't in dangerous situations. Like
they were just living their lives and came upon monsters. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for the ones that were already in the gang, I guess they were making a slightly bad decision, but
right. But yeah, like they didn't know. Yeah.
No.
Because I'm assuming they had hung out with these people before and didn't think anything twice about it.
Right, which is just like these people are fucking nuts.
Right. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. Sorry we ruined your Christmas holiday.
I hope y'all don't listen to this the day it comes out. Have a nice day,
Yeah.
and I hope it's the day after Christmas. And Merry Christmas.
Yes, happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays.
Enjoy and be grateful for everything you have because it can be taken away just like that.
Yeah, that's the moral of this story, isn't it?
Yeah, woof.
Whew. All right, thank you again. I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous. Oh, sorry, I got something caught in my throat. Sorry. And I'm Joyous Dead.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.